Boom-Bap beats are talked about a lot, but what exactly is a Boom-Bap beat and how do you make them? Well, in this video, I'm going to break everything down for you, including sampling techniques, drum sequencing, mixing, and arrangement. If you're interested in making melodies, check out this dark underground Boom-Bap tutorial first, where I make one from scratch. But in this video, we're going to be focusing around sampling to get that more authentic vibe. And yo, if you want to elevate your Boom-Bap game, I just dropped a crazy bundle called the Crate Collection, which has over 500 unique sounds and a whole production course. You'll get a massive drum kit with over 250 pre-mixed one-shots, breaks, fills, and midis to streamline your workflow, a royalty-free loop kit with 30 melodies composed by me to spark some inspiration, a huge phrase kit with all live recorded instruments and vocals to get a more authentic sound, a versatile one-shot kit and analog lab bank to add more texture, and hours of in-depth content to enhance your production skills. Plus, for a limited time, you'll receive exclusive bonuses including additional kits, a gift card, a whole mystery bundle, and a month free of my exclusive community, the Cactus Creators Club. The bonuses are only available for a few more days, so make sure you click the link in the description before it's too late. And let's get straight into the video. Okay, so I'm using FL Studio, but these techniques should work in any DAW. And let me just quickly show you the Crate Collection because look how beautiful it's looking in there, man. My favorite thing is the drum kit because all of these have been recorded by live drums and mixed by me. You have a whole bunch of drum breaks, just a range of different styles. And all of these are tempo sync too, so as soon as you drag them into your project, it will lock in with your project BPM. Same with the fills. And then of course, all the usual sounds that you'd find in the drum kit. All of which you won't find in any other kits. We've got the Alchemy Analog Lab Bank as well. All unique presets designed for boom bap and soul. Then a huge loop kit with melodies composed by me. This might be my favorite. Just that raw, gritty boom bap sound. Some old school hip hop too. Another one of my favorites too. Mad. A whole phrase kit with sax, bass, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and vocals. Vocals are so clean. Huge one-shot kit with everything you need. A mix of accents and one-shots. And then the Art of Boom Bap course, which if you received as part of the promotion, you'll get the login details for. And it's a whole structured course too. It's not just video files or a Dropbox link that you get. Okay, so when we're talking about Boom Bap, of course there's a variety of styles like modern Boom Bap, underground Boom Bap, but for the most part, we're referring to hip hop from the late 80s and early 1990s. The boom represents the punch of the kick and the bap represents the crunch of the snare. So it's usually known for hard-hitting old school beats, which were mostly made on things like the MPC 260. Producers would take all jazz, soul, and funk records and sample them in creative ways, and they'd also take drum breaks from either the same record or different ones and then merge them together. These days sounds are just way more accessible, which is why you have things like my Crate Collection just to make it easier for you. But the beats themselves would be quite minimal because the artists who would jump on them would be quite lyrical too, so the producers would save a lot of space for them. So we're going to try and create something authentic, and I found a sample to flip. So all I've done is drag the sample into Serato sample, but I'm going to show you how to do it with stock plugin soon. So if you don't have this, then don't worry. Now Serato's sick because it gives me the BPM and the key, so it saves me a lot of time. But if you don't have that, we can just drag the sample into the playlist, right click on the BPM and click tap, and now we can just tap along with it. So it would be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So just by counting, I'm hearing the BPMs around 72. Serato's saying it's 73, so I wasn't far off. Now with Serato, I can just click down here and set random, and this will just find random chops for me. Then I can use my keyboard or the piano roll to draw notes in. But if I just go back, what I usually like to do is make sure that the grid's set on the first beat. So you can see we've got this dead space here, which we don't need. If I click grid, we can just move that to make sure it's lined up. Now if I click here, I can choose set slicer and then slice. Now it's going to chop everything evenly. So now we've got these even chops, and from here we can play with the key. We can bring the BPM up as well. A lot of Boom Bap was made around 90 BPM. Now all I'm going to do from here is just play around with the chops. So you can either use a MIDI keyboard, drum pads if you have them, or if you don't have any of that, just hit F7 to go to the piano roll. And you can start drawing notes in. And these will all be different chops. Now I can just press Ctrl and Q to quantize everything. Shift and left click to balance out the velocity or volume. Now if I think any of these chops are a bit off, I can just bring the starting points back. We'll just pitch that up one more too. And then with this chop, I like the start of it, but I want that first bit to stretch. So all I'm going to do is just half it. Let's hear it now. Yeah, that's the one. Then if you're getting any clicks, you could just bring the attack up and the release. So this is just another chop that I found. I like to have two different sections at least. Might change that last part. So I'm feeling that chop, and if you don't have Serato, this is how you do it with stock plugins. So I've got the sample here. We're just going to cut out the dead space at the beginning. We're going to listen through. We're just going to count around like 4 bars. So if I cut it there, we could get a perfect loop. And I just counted that as 4 bars. So all I'm going to do is activate this stretch button, hold Alt and left click, and then bring it back to the 5th line, which just means there's 4 bars there. Because now listen. Perfect. Then we could just double click, hold Alt and left click pitch, and this will reset it. I'll also set this to generic bleeding. It just smooths out the beginning and end. And then we'll consolidate that time selection, cut remainder checked. Now if I open this, I can right click and select open a new fruity slicer channel. I can click this knife, select beat, and then with pitch shift, we could bring that up 4 because that's where we had it in Serato. Bring up the attack and decay if you want more smooth chops. And then you have the same thing. So if I just copy the pattern in, see what I'm saying? You can get the same results. Next, I just want to clean up the sample a bit. So I've pulled up an EQ. I could start by cutting out some of the lows because I'll probably add my own bass. And we'll remove some nasty frequencies like this. I'm also going to use X noise just to get rid of some of that hissing. I also thought the sample was leaning too far to the right, so I just pulled up Imager and just made it mono. And then I added another one and spread it. So now it's still stereo, but it just felt more balanced. I might just throw some chorus on it too, just to give it some texture. And then the last thing will just be some reverb. Okay, so for this pattern, I'm thinking we could have this one twice, and then it can switch to this. And then I think I want a 3rd section. So I'm going to pull up halftime. Oh, that sounds crazy, you know. I think for a verse, that could be sick. So we'll just automate that, and then just have this in one section. Then we'll go to the Alchemy Analog Lab Bank. Just find a sound with some cool texture. Then we'll just add a bit of delay and some reverb, just so it fits the vibe more. And with Boom-Bap beats, it's all about texture, so I'm not trying to come up with any complex melody. I'm just trying to find sounds that sound good to me, that fit the vibe, and that can create something interesting. For example, I might just use this for one note. Then we could throw some harmonizer on it, go to delays, and then select void. Just bring the mix down. Could add a couple more, maybe here. Maybe one more sound as well. Got this cheap guitar preset, which by itself might not sound good, but for these beats it's perfect. So now I've just got some tape delay, some harmonizer, chorus, and reverb. So this is before, then after. Okay, now to get them sounding a bit more cohesive, I've just highlighted everything. We'll route them to the same bus. We'll just throw on some RC20. Alright, so now we've got a few different parts to work with, but the next thing we need is a bass line. So I'm going to go to my drum kit, and we're just going to use a one-shot because for Boom-Bap beats, I either like to use something like an upright bass or an electric bass guitar or just something acoustic sounding. We can already hear the bass line in the sample, so I'm just going to try and match it. Might even slide some notes as well. Let's try this. We're just going to switch it up in this part. But you know what? I might even use an 808 in this part. Just something really low. Yeah, I'm feeling that. Probably need headphones on to hear it. Now for Boom-Bap drums, there's a few different things you could do. You could start off with a drum break, which is why I included this whole breaks folder. Now there's loads of different styles in here. that have all been mixed, and they're all tempo synced as well, so whichever one you drag into FL, it's going to match up, so you won't need to stretch it. So straight away you'd have some nice drums there, and then from here you could go in and chop the drums up and rearrange the pattern. For this tutorial, I actually want to make the drums from scratch. Start with a snare. And you'll notice with all of the drums in this kit, they've all been recorded by live drummers because we're trying to get that authentic sound. Turn up the velocity. Then we'll find a hat that matches. So I like this green one. For the hats as well, I also had a lot of live loops recorded. And again, these are tempo synced. So you could drag in one of these. I don't think this one matches the snare we're using though. So I'm actually going to make my own pattern. Start with this one. We'll use one of the MIDIs because with the MIDI files, I've already played with the velocity and I've already moved some of them off grid. So you're going to get a way more natural vibe. With this one, we'll press Ctrl and A to copy it, Shift and click to copy these over. And then we'll just bring down the velocity, holding Alt and using the mouse wheel. So I like the way the pattern sounds. Let's test some of the hats though. Whoa, this one, you know. Just boosted it, brought some of the velocities down. Okay, let's grab an open hat as well. And to try and replicate a real drum set, we're going to mute a hi-hat every time we add an open hat. Mad. So add it in again. So we've got the main pattern in. We just want to add a few things now to spice it up a bit. So maybe some more snares. Let's see. That one, then we've got this one at the end here. Then I think at the end of every 8 bar maybe we could add a drum fill. In one part, let's get one of these rides in as well. Let's move some off grid too. Then we can play with the panning. Alright, and I also want the drums to sound a bit more cohesive, so I'm just going to grab everything except for the kick. We'll right click on an empty channel, then select route to this track only, and this will just group the drums together. And then we're just going to throw on that same reverb. Sometimes I'll add a different reverb like a plate one, but I think this one will work just to fit the vibe. We'll bring the mix right down, and the low cut up, and the decay down too. There we go. Sounding a bit grimy. Alright, so we're getting there now. Next thing I'm going to do is split the drums. And we could just figure out the arrangement properly. And the easy way to start a boom-bap track is to take the sample. We'll change the pitch so it matches the chops. And then we're just going to take the first 8 bar. We'll send it to the same mixer channel. And maybe we'll just take 4 bars for this one and just get straight into it. And then we'll add the fill too. See how this sounds. See what I'm saying? Sounds hard. We'll get rid of the ride in this part. We'll get rid of the open hat in this part. And then we'll also mute this snare. So it starts off simple. Can go into this part. So this whole bit could be like a hook. Because then when it drops into the verse, we've got this part here. So yeah, that could be the hook. And then we've got the verse section here. So again, we'll save the open hats. So this will be the verse. Because it drops down a bit. Copy the drums over. Then we'll just bring the fill back in. Okay, maybe one last thing could just be a crash. This can just play on each drop. And then from here, we can just go ahead and copy that over. We've also split the melodies, and with that guitar, we can just have it coming in on the second half. Then we'll have the hook one last time. Maybe so that intro's just sounding a bit different. We'll set it to Stretch Pro and bring the formant all the way down. Then we'll create an automation clip, bring it back to normal. Copy the value, and then at this point we'll paste the value, then set it to single curve. Okay, let's have a listen from the beginning. So you can see the format's just rising up.
J Cactus.
This still sounded clean, you know. So this will be the hook. Then we got the verse. this part's crazy. Completely switches up the vibe. Then we've got the guitar and the ride. Got a nice bit of variation in this one, man. That second shot, and then just coming back into the hook. So I hope you're feeling this one. If you were, then let me know in the comments, and make sure you check out the crate collection in the description.